Welcome to episode 6 of the Life Coaching with Ryan podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Today I continue my conversation with Moon Ameen, and we focus on excuses. Enjoy. Well, so because I know we only have so much time, let's talk about mindset a little bit specifically, again, in accomplishing goals and taking responsibility for goals, and talk about excuses and the tendency toward excuses. Yeah, you and I were having a great conversation back in November about experiences you have when you're training people and when they're not with you, right? They're not in your presence and they are to accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
There tends to be a litany of excuses for why they were not able to do the thing that they committed to do. Right. So what's the one that you hear the most often?
I mean, I would say I don't have the time, and I have this, I don't know if it's just, I don't speak to a lot of people who come off thinking like this, but for me, I like to know that you have excuses or what your excuses are. I'm a fan of when somebody comes into the room, if they're going to tell me this is the reason why I can't, I think to myself, great. So now I know what roadblocks we need to maneuver around in order to get you where you need to be. Right. Because it's with the exception of some random outlier things, for example, you becoming an NBA basketball player, right? Any of the stuff is possible, and so people will take these excuses and they're almost like roadblocks for them, so that those don't allow them to get to wherever they need to get to, right? So I think to myself, like, great, okay, cool. So if time is an issue, all right, cool. So what do you break that down to me? What do you mean by time is an issue? Well, I don't have time to spend, changing and then, sitting in traffic and then going to the gym and then being at the gym for an hour, taking a class and then coming home and then showering and such, because that's 2 hours out of my day. Right. It's like, okay, cool. So for you, the excuse or the reason or whatever is.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
But it's that 2 hours, right? So right. You might jumping ahead because like that's.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. We'll make it work.
Yeah. So for me, I think that's great because you're telling me, okay, for me, when I think of fitness, when I think about getting in shape, I think about one of the things that comes into my mind is 2 hours, right? And sure. So my job is to be like, okay, so let's X out 2 hours and say, do we have 15 minutes or do we have 30 minutes or where do we have, 45 minutes or whatever the amount of time allotment is. Okay, you don't have 2 hours. Cool. Do you have an hour? You don't have an hour. Okay, cool. Do you have 45 minutes? You don't? Okay. Do you have 30 minutes? All right. And it gets down to the point where if you have between like 10 to 20 minutes, if you're doing something, because that's the thing, it's just being able to do it consistently, right. You'll see a difference, and you don't have to look at fitness in this perspective of like this 2 hours. And that's the problem that most people have, like with everything. It's, when you first, the reason why you don't start the podcast, if you look at the reasons, there's a bunch of different reasons or excuses. And if you key on those and say, all right, well, this is what's holding you back. And so you as a life coach telling somebody like, this is how you can maneuver around.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's funny because speaking, when you're like, am I getting ahead? It's like, no, I fucked up. I intended to start this segment of the conversation by distinguishing between excuses and reasons, but whatever, it's all good. because I think something that's important when we define an excuse, is an excuse contains an opinion. Yeah. Whereas a reason is theoretically factual, right? Like a circumstance is factual. I quote Brooke Castillo a lot. I really enjoy her material. And she talks about the cognitive behavioral model of understanding that we start with this. We have a circumstance, this thing we don't have control over.
Right.
We have a thought about that circumstance. That thought leads to some kind of feeling. That feeling leads us to act out in a certain way and leads to a certain result. Yeah.
Right.
And so in that process, is mindset comes in on that thought level, that then informs our feelings. So we might have limiting beliefs, like it's not a workout if I don't work out for 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, we're not conscious that is a belief that we have. That's why we have a coach, whether it's a physical trainer or a life coach or whatever else, to go, how true is that? Right. And to start to tease that apart and pull that apart. Yeah. Between, again, resisting responsibility, being overwhelmed, having rigidity of thought, whatever it happens to be. That's for me, when I define a reason versus an excuse, a reason is as factual as you can get. Excuses.
So give me a reason versus an excuse for somebody not being able to work out.
So let's say, and actually this is perfect segue in the context of time or injury. Yeah. So someone would say, I didn't have time to work out. Okay. Now we're going to put that aside. My car broke down.
So
the fact is the car broke down. That is a reason why I might have difficulty working out.
Okay.
The excuse is the point where you go, well, I just can't work out now. Okay. Right? So the excuse is the mindset component where we've gone from the fact, my car broke down. Yeah. Or I injured my knee. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. Yeah. And now it becomes, well, now I just can't. And so that's where the limiting belief part comes in.
Okay. So, but then I'll challenge that. Like what, okay. Why, what does your car have to do with working out? You know, right. Like what is I have a client now who, I trained them the other day. And the day before they had texted me, I rolled my ankle. And so I don't want to, can we, postpone the training or reschedule the training? And I asked him why. And I'm like, well, I hurt my ankle. I can't really walk. I was like, you have an entire
rest of your body
muscular system that doesn't include your ankles or you walking or whatever,
right.
That we can focus on that, has literally nothing to do with your ankle. Mm-hmm. And they were mad because they, on top of the fact that they rolled their ankle, they were like, oh, I'm getting out of training today. It's like, no, like that's.
I say a bad day is the best day for coaching because that's when all of your shit's been stirred up and you got to process it. Don't put it off like, oh, I don't feel like it today. No, that's when you need to show up.
Yeah. And I mean, it's weird. People, for me, I ingest them the same way. If it's a reason like that, because that's a fact that he did roll his ankle, and right. I went and I was like, ooh, it looks like a melon, So I'm like, all right, we're obviously not touching that, but
let's work on the core. Let's work on something else.
That day, fitness had nothing to do with things that involved him having to run around or do squats or do whatever. Just we just took the legs out of the equation that day, and so for somebody for the person who's like, oh, I can't work out today because my car broke down, that's legit. Like, your car broke down. All right, well, that means your legs still work, so you can't drive somewhere, but you can run somewhere. Right. And like, oh, the gym is, 60 miles that way or X how many miles that way. I didn't say you had to run there.
Right. Don't go to the gym.
You could run somewhere, And right. So, or you could stay at the house and look, back to social media. There's
We can't escape it.
there's thousands of workout videos online. All you have to do is because that's the thing. It's crazy nowadays. It's kind of annoying to hear people say like I can't because I don't have the information or I didn't know, because there's a YouTube video on everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. And so if you're over here, and then as an aside, I'm gonna go back to that in a second. Why I feel like social media and that stuff is, and the internet is like a really, really amazing thing. But there are a ton of videos that are 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes long of people that like how to work out with no workouts, with no weights, workouts with no X, workouts with no Y, whatever it is, right?
Right.
You know, like it's cool. Have an excuse, like, or have a reason. Like, this is why I couldn't go to the gym, right? But that's not, you're not. I mean, I feel like an accurate reason would probably be I have bronchitis, right?
Right.
And so today I'm not working out because of that, right? There's nothing I can do. There's no way to maneuver around me not being able to breathe,
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like what we're really talking about here is perspective shift.
Yeah.
Right. Prioritizing, understanding. Again, I like talking about teasing things apart or pulling them apart, getting at the root of them. Because if your priority is to work out and you set that goal, then if you change the mindset from defeat,
right.
well, it's not the ideal.
Yeah, the rigidness of
exactly.
This is what it looks like, and
this is what it means.
I feel like that's the main thing I try to teach my clients. Like, and that's because, look, Los Angeles, I can literally walk outside right now and take a pen and probably hit a personal trainer.
Right.
That many people, right? That train is, people out here. I didn't learn the word narcissism till I moved here. Honestly.
You learned it for sure when you moved there.
And so there's a ton of people that know fitness and do fitness, whatever. The thing that if people ask me, like, well, okay, you're a trainer just like everybody else, what sets you apart is specifically that. I'm trying to make sure that you understand that this rigid idea that you have of whatever needs to, like, I'm here to if nothing else, to crush that, because nothing has to be rigid. Like everything from your job, how you go about, accomplishing your job, to your daily, just your day-to-day showing up to work, to, what we're talking about with fitness, to, podcasts or whatever, your relationships. Like, people have these ideas like, okay, I watched a chick flick or whatever, and so like that's their idea of what a relationship is and what it's supposed to look like. And it's like, no, that's one version.
Yeah.
Of it, But for me, that's super, super important. And I mean, it's like it's therapy for me to be able to do this for other people as well. Cause like, I still have to teach myself and remind myself, hey, this doesn't have to be rigid, because it doesn't, and so even with people's views of what I was gonna say, like of the internet and of all those things, the thing that I think is cool, just as an aside, the thing I think is really, really cool about the internet, but what people always say that it's social, but it's pushing us like farther and farther apart, right? So, and not giving any props to Google, but if you take to me, I feel like it's the complete opposite. The communication skills are getting fucked up, but the community is getting super, super tight, because I will challenge anybody to go on Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
Type something and see if the Google doesn't finish what you're typing in some way, shape, or form. And so all that means is that somebody else typed in what you typed in, which means somebody else is thinking what you're thinking, which means somebody else is going through what you're going through, which means that you're not alone in this whole situation, which I think is super cool, because you could be like, before, I mean, right now, LGBTQ, XYZ, whatever, is super, super, like that's at the forefront of news.
Mm-hmm.
Before social media, before the internet, there were people who had to deal with the struggles of people, bullying them or whatever. They had to deal with that by themselves. Now, there's tons of support groups. There's people who are dealing with this everywhere, right? So and I mean, look, it's as easy as this is for you and me to communicate. You're in Northern California, I'm in Southern California. It's easy for somebody to communicate with somebody who's in, another part of the world,
right?
Who's going through what you're going through, and so you don't have to feel like you're holy shit, I'm the only one with these problems. I'm the only one that can't get it right. I'm the only one that can't such and such, because this is not the case. Everybody's going through it, So
it's true.
That was my side. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, we're gonna have to do a bunch of these. We were talking about that the other night. We're gonna have to have a bunch of these conversations. But so to distill this down, there's something you said to me again, however many months ago that was, that I took away and I thought was really powerful, which was, how can you still blank with blank? But meaning, how can you still take this action, working out, with your excuse, your injured ankle? Yeah. So so for everybody, like, highlight, put a pin in this. When you are struggling with getting something done and you're having that moment of excuse, the excuses are coming up.
Right.
Then a way to get out of that rigidity is just to ask the question, how? Like, how can I still blank? How can I still work out with a busted ankle, when my car is, with a broken down car, with whatever else, so that the focus is on the solution,
right?
Not on the problem.
Yeah. Or just like as a basic, even before that, just, am I looking at whatever this reason is or this excuse? Am I looking at it with like a rigid perspective? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so because 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, when things you're not able to accomplish things, it's because of the fact that you're looking at them with through like a rigid lens, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
And that's with everything. With people, that's truly a key to being able to progress and seek some level of contentment with what you're doing and satisfaction in what you're doing, is the recognition of none of this has to be rigid. There's no it's funny. Like there's no real blueprint, right? So it's why I love I'm from, the 80s, whatever. I love hip hop and I'm a huge fan of Jay-Z, and he has the album that's called The Blueprint. And I always thought that was super ironic, because there is no blueprint to any of this stuff. I mean, there are
guiding principles.
Yeah, there are specific steps that some people have to take, and there in a sense of in the grand scheme of, yes, you need to be disciplined. That is definitely something that has to be part of your blueprint. But the actual what that discipline looks like, what that entails on a daily basis, there's no. I could tell you, like, just like Jay-Z could tell you, just like you could say, go and literally do every single thing that I did, and it's not the same way.
No, absolutely.
Nor is
things that are out of your control.
Yeah, nor is it going to guarantee you're going to be able to get that person going to be able to get where you're at or where I'm at or whatever.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Absolutely.
The main thing about just the thought process is, it's weird because, thoughts are to, your subconscious and whatever. It's super, it goes from here to here, and everyone's mind wanders all over the place. But when it comes to things that we're really, really interested in, like, our thought process becomes super, super rigid,
Yeah,
and
it's true.
it becomes this whole idea of like, this is what I saw, so this is what it is, so this is what's going to be, and blah, 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 blah. And it's,
I'm gonna talk about it more probably in blog form, or as a separate episode, as a follow up to this one. But part of that adaptability,
right.
really, that flexibility, I think is critical as we move toward what we want, because we may not get what we want the way we originally envisioned it. So how we play with that, that's my perspective, is play. I use curiosity and play a lot in order to get myself out of rigidity, see
Right.
things from a different perspective, and go, oh wait, the core of what I really wanted was this. Am I getting that? Yes. Okay. And it really shifts with
Right.
goal setting or whatever else. It's not, my goal is to work out 5 times a week. My goal is to get physically fit and healthy. My means of doing that, my action plan for that, is to work out X number of times a week. If I fail to work out 5 times a week, but I worked out once, am I still working toward my goal of physical fitness? Yes. Yeah. So again, it's that mindset. So when I was thinking about that, how can I still take this action with my excuse? I put it in Brooke. If you haven't checked out Brooke Castillo, this is to anyone who's listening. I really value her perspective on this particular issue. I mean, I've reframed her approach, the model to this. So I kind of rephrased it to, what action can I take to still create my desired result with this circumstance?
Right. Yeah.
Because then once you,
a very articulate way of saying what we're talking about.
Right. Again, this is like bookmark this point in the podcast. Hopefully, or write it down. I'll repeat myself. So if you're looking at the model, circumstances, thing you don't have control over, and you have thoughts about it, feelings about it, an action and a result from that action. Yeah. The result is what we're caring about now. The result is the teased out core part of your goal. So what action can I take to still create my desired result with this circumstance that I have, this thing that's outside of my control? Because then you have that flexibility to deal with that. So I actually think that's I don't want to cut you off. There's something you want to say about that before we shift.
No, that was, I think the something that's, it's people are told it's going to take work, right? But you always hear that, and it's just this, ambiguous thing.
Right. Totally.
It's going to take work, right? Yeah. Or you're going to have to, it's going to take time, or whatever it is. But like, I think an important point to impress upon people is that, look, the idea that life is going to happen, that should be something that you understand is just, regardless, is going to be a part of wherever you're trying to get, right?
Right.
So,
right. You're bound by time.
So, yeah, it's this whole, and the idea of that you're, wherever you get looks different than where you, of course it looks different, because when you were looking at it, the only person that you had to reference was somebody else, and somebody else's whatever accomplishment of whatever, or however they did it. That's not you. And so right. It's going to look different when you do it. But the whole idea that the understanding that, because that's the second layer and the second level of excuses, right?
Right.
Like, well, okay, well, like my car broke down, right? So that's the thing I can't do anything about, right?
Right.
Oh, and today it's raining outside, or it's super cold, or wherever you live, you know what I mean? The temperature is whatever degrees, so you can't go outside.
Right.
So there's that, right? And as opposed to looking at it like, okay, these are like, because you're looking at the obstacles, like that's where your focus is.
Yeah.
And you change the perspective of looking at the obstacles into saying, look, I got to work out today. I mean, basic principles of life. Like, I got to eat today, you know, so, and it's one of those things where one of the examples I use is, for people to be able to do something every day with whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. It's like people are like, oh, I don't have time every day. I got this and I got this and I got this, and I'm just not able to do it every day. It's like, well, the example I use is hopefully there's not a day that goes by where you're like, you know what, I didn't have time today. I'm not going to brush my teeth, or I just didn't have time today. I
won't use the bathroom.
I'm not going to, or I'm not going to get dressed. Right. You subconsciously created little windows of time for all of these different things. So if you
priorities,
if you approach your, whatever it is, this growth, like, okay, like somehow, some way this has to happen today, as much flack as they get, people will say, like, I haven't eaten today, but so it's not like they're going to say like, oh, I'm not going to eat. They'll stop at a McDonald's on their way home, which is as
separate conversation.
That's, it's, I have those cravings also, whatever, because I'm from this society, but you'll still make sure that you stop somewhere and get that food in your system. And if you treat the goals, and if you treat these things like, look, because there's no way you're going to go through the day and just tell yourself, you know what, I'll eat tomorrow, like if you're most people, like
most people. I was going to say there are those people,
all those exceptions, and incremental fasting and, all those different things or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, if you're just going through your day, you're not going to say, I'm just won't eat. I just don't have time to just won't eat. You're going to find some time to take, even if it means that you don't sleep if you go to sleep at 10:30 as opposed to sleeping at 10, or you go to sleep at 12 as opposed to 11, or whatever, you're going to find that time. So if you tell yourself either whatever it is you want to give yourself, like once a day, I need to do something towards that, or once a week, or once every 3 days, or whatever it is, or 3 times a week, and then you reevaluate it at the end of the week, and you shake off like, okay, I did it twice so far, so I still got another day. Oh shit, it's Thursday now, means I got to do something every day. You know what I mean? Just to keep yourself, and because that if that becomes the focus, like I have to do this, I have to get this done, like I have to eat, then you start to look at the excuses differently, and it becomes one of those things where you start looking at excuses. Like I look at excuses, right? And the way that you're over here trying to tell people, like, okay, yeah, I know this is how you feel, but you can start to feel and look at the world like this.
Right. Yep. So, I talk to clients about 30-second meditation. People say, oh, I need to learn how to meditate, but I never have the time. Right. And it's like, okay, well, what does meditation look like to you? And they're like, oh, well, you got to sit and you got to do this and you need 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, I meditate in 30 seconds.
Right.
They go, what? I'm like, yeah.
I need that one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make sure after we talk about this, if we're not able to stay communicating after we stop recording, then I'll make sure I send you a little bit about that. But that's also something I definitely want to do, at least a blog post, if not a full podcast episode on that, because I think that's really valuable. And here's a little preview of what's coming up next week.
The approach is just do something positive towards whatever a day, then you're gonna X out all this other stuff, as opposed to like just do something with regard, you know what I mean? Just
yeah.
So because
I agree.
People don't want to fail. Like that's the last thing people want to do is it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and that's why what keeps people. That's like the crippling thing, right? Like I'm scared of success, and like I'm this fear of the failure, right? So
right, yeah, no, I think that's a very good clarification, because for me, I don't consider failure a stopping of momentum. I don't see.
You don't.
I don't. No, right. Because I think this is good to clarify. Because I did not even consider that you would disagree with me. I figured you were going to refine my statement. So even just in your objection, I think it's really, really valuable because someone could interpret my use of the word momentum to mean continuous, successful attempts to do something, which is not what I mean. I mean continual attempts to do something, period. I mean acting an intention with a result doesn't mean getting the result you intended. Right?
But I got it. You say that again for the people, because that's
Like the show? Consider subscribing through my Patreon at patreon.com/lifecoachingwithryan. You'll get early access to shows and potentially a host of other rewards. Want more? You can also find me streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/lifecoachingwithryan, where I play some games and I continue the conversation. I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can find me at instagram.com/educate4_life. That's where I do my book club. I record the book club episodes live on Mondays, and then I post them to IGTV. Later, I post them on YouTube. See you next time.